Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And on behalf of the Board of Directors and the staff, I'd like to welcome you to the 2017 annual meeting of the membership, Military Officers Association of America. I'd like to now call the meeting to order and ask that you stand and remain standing as our national chaplain gives the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Bob, please.
Remember today that what we're about is the people, the men and women in our armed forces, veterans, their families, surviving spouses, and so we've got people deployed in harm's way all over the world, and let us particularly hold them up in prayer. Almighty God, we commend to your gracious care in keeping all the men and women of our armed forces at home and abroad. Defend them day by day with your heavenly grace. Strengthen them in their trials and temptations. Give them courage to face the perils which beset them, and grant them a sense of your abiding presence wherever they may be. Amen.
Thanks, Bob.
The flag is over here. For those of you who haven't spotted it yet, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, boss. The purpose of this meeting is to kind of give a State of the Union address to you as members. Dana wanted me to stand up behind this podium, but he's already glued his book up and his notes to this, so in deference to Dana, we're not going to do that. So I'll hide behind the mic next to the lawyer. His fees are more than we can afford. Anyway, so this gives you a chance to talk to the people around you, the board members that are sitting here today. And we also want to talk to you about what we've done since the last board report, and to listen to your concerns, because we are living in an incredibly complex time, especially an organization like MOAA, where advocacy, what we do, legislating or hoping to legislate on behalf of the active service and retired people, is becoming more complex. The members of the board are here today, scattered throughout the room. You're wearing their name tags. I had one, but Joe took it from me. He says, I don't want people talking to you. And so we're fortunate that we have a number of former board members joining us today. John Tellelli, where's John? John, please stand up. Many of you know John. As all of you know, John and I have been friends for years when he was in the Army, and although I was in the Marine Corps. I mean, if you worry about what's going on in North Korea today, it's all John's fault. So if you've got solutions, please see him. We also have Jerry Wall here, class of 2004. Okay. Carol Haytrup, class of 2012. Dave Peterson, class of 2012. There's Dave. Pat Cusick, 2016. And Bruce Hamilton. I think Bruce had to go back. You know, he works in the nuclear regulatory business. He was on the board and then got hired by the Obama administration and sits on the nuclear regulatory board. So as I say to him frequently, you've gone to the dark side. So he's on the podium. We have Dana Atkins, our boss, kind of a president. Jim O'Brien, the good-looking guy. By the way, Jim's team won last night. For those of you who are interested in the NFL. Joe Lynch, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary. Regina Chavez, who many of you are meeting for the first time. She is a blessing. She replaced Joe. Our productivity around here has significantly increased as a result of it. Oh, sorry. That's right, she also replaced Joe, too.
He just doesn't know it.
We haven't made that announcement yet, so I'm sorry, so please, this is being recorded, not for the night show, but anyway, so, and Dan Mary's down that end. We're also fortunate to have Steve Strobridge during the, where's Steve? Steve is here to make sure that Dan says the right things, and so this is student-teacher relationship. So in a few minutes, we're going to hear from Dana, kind of a State of the Union. Gerald Lynch, Jim O'Brien, Regina, and Colonel Mary are going to talk about things that are affecting us right now. The MOAA is a Virginia corporation. I now call on the association's Secretary and General Counsel, Joe Lynch, to confirm that he has kept us in compliance with the Virginia law regarding this meeting.
Mr. Chairman, as required by Virginia law, we sent printed copies of the notice of the 2017 MOAA annual meeting in Military Officer Magazine to those members who received the magazine, and for those few who do not receive the magazine, a separate letter to the last known place of residence of each and every voting member of the association was also sent. This satisfies the notice requirements of the Virginia Non-Stock Corporation Act.
Thank you, John. I guess that makes us legal. I have about 10 pages of notes that I'm supposed to read to you. John asked me, he said, make it short. He says, I got to get back to work. So there are a couple things that I want to cover. Number one, from the standpoint of an organization, we, MOAA, continue to get recognized as one of the top lobbying organizations here in Washington, D.C., especially when it comes to military membership. The Hill recognizes MOAA almost on an annual basis. That is not done without a lot of hard work with a team of people, starting with Dana, who goes over there frequently, Dan Mary and his team, and very frankly, many of you also who get mobilized or asked to get mobilized on our April process. Dan's going to talk about kind of what's going on in a legislative basis. I will just tell you that we as a nation are at a critical point right now. We are asking our military to do things without the tools that it takes to do things. Dan will talk about sequestration, and optimistically he'll say that, well, we're going to work on getting it repealed. It is not going to happen. Congress, and many of you who have been with me, our Virginia delegations here up on the Hill, every single congressperson that we talk to says, I am against sequestration. We got to get rid of it. Yea, verily. We have not found one congressional person who thinks that sequestration is a good idea. So you ask yourself the question, okay, if everyone's against it, why is it still there? And the answer is because they don't have to make the decisions they need to make about cuts in the budget. So they will leave it in place. And where does a service chief, and I talk to the service chiefs frequently, where do they go to get the money to pay for the programs that they have to have? It's in the personnel accounts. So lobbying and representing the kids in the field who don't have a voice, that's what we are about. Recently, we joined with the Chamber of Commerce and held a spouse program down, down at Camp Lejeune. We were very fortunate that we were able to get Ivanka Trump and Kellyanne Conway to attend. We had 250 spouses down there. There is a recognition in this administration that spouse programs, spouse employment, what to do with the military after service is important. So we're making traction in that area. We usually get, Dana, what, 50 or 60?
About 60.
In this case, we had 250. Now, I recognize that when you have somebody from the White House show up, a lot of people show up out of curiosity, whatever have you, but there seems to be a genuine interest in this subject. I'm not going to cover what Dan's going to talk about, but I will just tell you that you can expect TRICARE fees to go up. COLA's up, TRICARE fees by definition will go up. It's been a challenging year for this organization. We have, excuse me, faced a number of issues, but because of the leadership of people like John in the past, we've weathered a lot of storms. We have credibility in the Hill, but this is not a place where you can go to sleep. Because if you think for 1 second, and if you're not there on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis, they'll think you don't care. And that'll be a tragic mistake. There are a lot of people in this room I owe a great deal of gratitude for. Our Vice Chairman, Casey McLean's here, Sam DeBoe, Kathleen DeSalt, and they have all contributed to the success of this organization. That's not to exclude other people, I'm just saying that those are people. And so to Dana and each member of the MOAA superb staff, I want to thank you for what you do on a day-to-day basis. There's no other way to say it. This is, in a lot of ways, thankless work, but necessary work. I'd also like to thank every one of you. Your input to what we do is very important. We are facing a whole different generational issue. My generation, the generation that most of us come from, is being replaced by a younger generation that does not necessarily see organizations in the same frame of reference that we see them. They are into a different kind of value proposition. And so how we transition, both from a membership standpoint and an interest standpoint, how do we include them? Because I can remember when I was 25 years old, company commander coming out of Vietnam, I could care less. I mean, I was more interested in getting my sea bag unpacked, getting my gear washed, and going back again. So, but all of a sudden, 40 years later, I'm saying to myself, God, how did you get to be 65? You should have been dead years ago. But anyway, so, but this is the world. We somehow or another have got to figure out a way to take the experience that collectively we have gained and talk to a young lieutenant or captain and just say, let me tell you why you have to talk to your platoon sergeants and company gunnery sergeants and tell them why it's important to have a will, why it's important to have a power of attorney, why is it important that you have to provide for your wife. Because one of the issues, like at Camp Lejeune, you know, talking to the surviving spouses, the young wives sit there and say, what? I didn't know I was entitled to these things. My husband never told me. Well, frequently in this world where we have so many deployments, it's too late. It's too late when the casualty assistance officer comes to your door and just say, I'm sorry, but this is what this organization needs to continue to focus on. You have the experience. You have the background. You know what these issues are. So it's like being a parent. You have a parental responsibility to these young kids. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dana, kind of give you a State of the Union address. He's got a video. I think it's going to work.
She said it would.
So anyway, thank you very much.
Hey, Shuttle Jim. Well, I want to echo the welcome to General Tolali, sir. Thanks a lot for being here and the opportunity to share what we're doing with MOAA as well. I want to thank all of our board members who stayed behind to hear my briefing again. Thanks a lot for doing that, too. A couple other MOAA warriors out here, Barry Wright, Mike Hayden, thanks for being with us today. You've certainly made huge contributions to our staff over the years like this, and appreciate you having here. I really want to thank our Surviving Spouse Advisory Council for hanging around, too. You're a very important part of our mission, and certainly the council that I get and the staff gets. I want to thank the members who have come here today, taking time out of their day to be with us personally here for this meeting. And then last, and she'll probably be embarrassed when I say this, but I want to introduce my wife, because some of you haven't met my wife. But Laura, if you stand up just so that they can, so I always brag about her, but I really have one like this. So thanks for being here as well. Well, let me begin my second annual report to the membership with a sincere thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to attend your association's annual meeting and hear this firsthand report from your leadership team. I say your leadership team because we all work for you to execute your priorities and address your concerns as transmitted to us through our Board of Directors. Now, our Board of Directors is comprised of 36 members representing all ranks, all services, and all regions of the country. They come together 3 times a year to take a measure of our progress and identify areas where more work is needed. Now, most of our directors are retired senior military officers. Many have had successful second and even third careers in the private sector and at all levels of government. Nearly a quarter of them have experienced a council or chapter leadership position, and all of them share your passion to ensure the long-term success of our association as we go about the important work of educating and informing our elected representatives and members of the administration on the unique demands of military service and the concerns of our veteran community. Now, along with the continuing concerns of membership and finances, which most of you know are my paramount priorities since I took the job as your president in January of 2016, I'm also deeply concerned about the challenges of building consensus around our advocacy priorities in a town gripped by what Wall Street Journal recently characterized as severe political disruption. Now, my report today will firsthand address several overarching issues affecting our association, and then step through the 6 main goals that are addressed in our new strategic plan: advocacy, membership, engagement, chapters, finance, and organizational capability. Today, our nation is deeply divided along a number of ideological and philosophical lines: urban versus rural, red versus blue, socially accepting versus those espousing more traditional values, and deficit hawks versus those who propose essential investments. Moreover, our membership reflects the same diversity of thought. I know this because I read every piece of member correspondence that comes into our association that's addressed to the President. Some call me the 8th member of our member services representative, but I think it's important for me to develop and maintain a direct connection with you, our members. At the same time, our association needs to nurture a relationship with the next generation of MOAA members. As you may well have noticed in recent front-page essays in the Wall Street Journal, the largest single-age cohort in the nation today is a 26-year-old, and 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every day until 2029. Now, while we recognize our primary membership persona is officers between the age 40 and 60, we need to work every day to demonstrate relevance to the currently serving junior officers. Positioning our association to have impact and to survive and thrive in this perfect storm of political disruption, economic uncertainty, and an aging membership is the key challenge as we reflect on our proudest boasts from 2017 and look ahead to the challenges of 2018. One of our proudest boasts in 2017 was the drafting and approval by our Board of Directors this past July of our comprehensive 5-year strategic plan. Developed with a significant input from our Board of Directors, especially from our Strategic Planning Committee and from MOAA membership and our leadership team, it lays the foundation for the long-term strengthening of the association between now and 2021. You may have reviewed the highlights of our new strategic plan in the October issue of Military Officer Magazine. If you hadn't, I urge you to read it, and I hope you will. This new plan is a departure from business as usual, and it's a deliberate effort to create shared priorities across our enterprise. There's a strong emphasis on collaboration required to achieve our objectives and a purposeful departure from a stovepipe approach to mission accomplishment. For example, membership is much more than a membership and marketing responsibility. We all play an essential role, including our council and chapter leaders in the field. Our strategic plan is crafted to help us have impact. And this is not always easy in a polarized environment like Washington, D.C. Now, we work every day to have impact by strengthening key relationships and collaborating and communicating with all of our key constituents, because today's adversary might be tomorrow's ally. We're always preparing for that next vote, and while veterans' issues are still bipartisan priorities, the coalition begins to fragment when considering national security questions, such as the pressing need to repeal the defense spending caps contained in the sequester legislation. Now, let me share one example from my network. General Carter Ham from AUSA recently shared with me that he had an unwillingness to endorse the prioritized legislative agenda developed by our partners in the military coalition. Just as with our elected representatives, the major military service and veteran service organizations are very sensitive to the loudest voices among their own constituents. Further, the 2018 National Defense Authorization Act reflects not only the deep divide between the political parties, but also the vast difference between the House and the Senate. The stakes for the military community are particularly high, with critical decisions on end strength, pay raises, housing allowances, survivor benefits, pharmacy co-pays, and TRICARE fees, all still pending. As both chambers begin the conference process to reconcile these two bills, out of the blue and without any advance coordination, the Defense Health Agency issued what they called the Interim Final Rule, or IFR in Washington speak, to unilaterally raise TRICARE fees. The headlines in this town change with amazing speed, and the compressed time frame reduces our opportunity to have a robust discussion. Accordingly, the outcome of the conference process could favor the Senate's position in its less costly version of a defense bill that actually generates funds in the personnel account by raising fees, cutting allowances, and reducing the 2018 military pay raise. Add the complexities of so many competing priorities, including a congressional response to 5 natural disasters, plus tax reform, and emerging economic and national security issues, and it's clear we have our work cut out for us. Another major challenge is internal, and this is perhaps our most significant challenge for the future. Our members hold a wide range of views on many of the social and political questions of the day. As you would expect, our member feedback, both positive and negative, reflects the diverse views in our national political and social debates. In my judgment, the social tension is nearly as high today as I witnessed during the Vietnam era. In the past 2 months, I've been challenged by members, and in some cases by our own staff and even board members, to take public positions on transgender service, racial tensions, and the NFL national anthem protest, as well as to consider appropriate association responses to natural disasters. In crafting an appropriate response to these issues, one thing is clear to me: our membership is not of one mind, and it's a challenge to strike the right balance. First and foremost, I believe we need to make sure that we stay within the lane and focus on our questions directly affecting the military and veteran community and national defense. When public comment from the association is appropriate, our public position should reflect the timeless values of officership. That's fairness, equality, and respect for all citizens. Now, you may be surprised to know that our recent magazine, which featured an article on Hispanic Medal of Honor recipients during World War I, actually generated both negative and positive member feedback, as did a recent feature addressing the opioid crisis. Now, we can't please all of our members, and there will be times when the association needs to take a public position on controversial issues, and when necessary, we will speak out to support the core values of the military community that we represent and to remain a relevant organization. With the current Washington climate and the mood of the membership as a backdrop, and with the thanks to some great work by our media team, especially Bob Lennox and Molly Wyman, I'd like to present some video highlights of our work together in 2017.
For 88 years, MOAA has led the charge to represent America's uniformed service members, educating and informing our elected leadership on the unique demands of uniformed service. Today's limited resources and competing priorities make our work even more important. Our pledge to never stop serving and our shared values of service, leadership, and professionalism make MOAA not only the largest association of military officers, but the one with the biggest impact. However, if we hope to remain relevant for another 88 years in a rapidly changing world, we must continually adapt and reposition ourselves. Change is essential to maintain vitality in our association. Our challenge is to improve our performance and effectiveness and better connect with our customers, our current and future members. Against this backdrop, our Board of Directors has developed a new strategic plan for the association in 2017. As we chronicle highlights of our work together this year, we'll examine the 6 main goals in our new strategic plan and how these interrelated objectives are preparing your association to survive and thrive in an uncertain political and fiscal environment. Advocacy. Relationships with members of Congress, with the administration, and with other associations are at the heart of MOAA's advocacy efforts. We put in the time to better understand the issues and the people driving positive outcomes for our members. We look for opportunities to influence legislation before it's even drafted. Our work with VA Secretary Dr. David Shulkin helped produce new legislation like the Forever GI Bill, the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act, and extension of the Veterans Choice Program. U.S. Representative Mike Kaufman, who chairs the Military Personnel Subcommittee of the House Armed Services Committee, spoke at MOAA's April board meeting. And we've met with Representative Jackie Speer on the House Armed Services Committee, as well as key staff for Representative Dutch Ruppersberger on the House Appropriations Committee to build support and identify funding strategies to end the SBP DIC Widows Tax. We also meet regularly with DoD officials responsible for military personnel and compensation policy, leaders like Vice Admiral Rocky Bono, Director of the Defense Health Agency, responsible for all military treatment facilities and TRICARE. Our diligent efforts and the resulting successes are paving the way for an effective transition into the 116th Congress in 2019. Membership and member services. Strengthening membership remains a top priority. Our membership and marketing team works continuously to develop innovative approaches, new member benefits, and big ideas to achieve and exceed our membership and engagement goals. In 2017, we launched a nationwide search and selected an advertising partner to heighten MOAA's brand awareness and take our recruiting and retention efforts to a new level. We began implementing a robust marketing automation platform that will enable us to deliver a more relevant member experience while gathering data and insights to inform our marketing strategy. We developed a comprehensive business development process to evaluate proposed products and services and ensure the best value for our members. We contracted with Brenco Travel, an agency with a proven understanding of our membership, to manage MOAA vacations. Member feedback has been tremendous. Engagement communications. For the first time since 2005, we've redesigned Military Officer Magazine. Our magazine staff worked with a nationally known consultant to make this updated flagship publication, launching in 2018, more appealing and engaging to a broader demographic while staying focused on the audience, you. A new homepage carousel, launched in August after extensive research and consultation with members, brings you more information, updated more frequently, with more images of the people MOAA serves. This was a first step toward an upcoming redesign of the entire website to provide an improved user experience. The MOAA newsletter, a new email product launching soon, combines 5 existing newsletters into one platform that members can customize to ensure they get what they want from MOAA when they want it. Transition and member services. MOAA's member service has continued to deliver impeccable member service. In 2017, each member service representative answered more than 4,800 phone calls and nearly 1,500 emails. Our career management and financial education consulting practice connects personally with nearly 2,000 MOAA members and prospective members each year, providing essential information and support for all of life's major transitions. Development. MOAA's Scholarship Fund welcomed over 1,700 new students into the MOAA Educational Assistance family. We are preparing to distribute a second tranche of loans and grants totaling nearly $9 million to complete this year's program cycle. The Military Family Initiative won a major grant from USAA, enabling the launch of a nationally acclaimed series of military spouse professional development symposia at major military installations across the country. An early October symposium at Camp Lejeune hosted Ivanka Trump and Kellyanne Conway, as well as more than 260 local military spouses. 2017 also witnessed the launch of the Community Outreach Grant Program. 6 MOAA chapters received grants to support their active community outreach programs benefiting military families, exemplifying the MOAA commitment to never stop serving. We hope to expand this grant program in 2018. Council and chapters. We know MOAA's 50,000 chapter members are our most loyal constituency and our most dependable when it comes to advocacy, and we have increased support to our nationwide councils and chapters in several critical areas. Headquarters staff and board members have visited more than 100 councils and chapters this year, and we're planning to ramp up our visitation program in 2018. Our regional leadership workshops, designed to share best practices with MOAA's leadership in the field, attracted more than 200 of our council and chapter leaders. Finances and organizational capacity. As part of our ongoing effort to protect MOAA's most valuable assets, our member information and our reputation, we conducted a full review of our cybersecurity program. Maintaining accurate and actionable member information remains a top priority. MOAA's financial goal is to generate income and manage expenses to reduce our dependence on investment income to balance our yearly operational budget. While our current investment portfolio is growing in this current economic cycle, we need to continue this financial growth as our other revenue streams continue to be challenged. New accounting policies and procedures, strengthened internal controls, and improved contracting procedures have reduced both our overall expenses this year and our budgeted expenses for 2018. We've also addressed recruiting and retention within the association by offering competitive incentives to join the MOAA team and rewarding and recognizing outstanding staff members. Advocacy, membership, and engagement are MOAA's most compelling priorities. With an eye to the future and sensitivity to our 88-year heritage, we are mindful of Mahatma Gandhi's imperative: the future depends on what we do in the present. Expect more communication, more relevant information, more member service, and more engagement from your association in 2018. On behalf of your National Board of Directors and Headquarters team, we thank you for your support, loyalty, and membership.
If I could, I see Molly in the back, but Molly, please stand up, and Bob, I think you're standing up already like this, but these are really 2 key contributors to this video, so both Bob and Molly, thanks a lot. Well, turning now to opportunities for 2018, I'll discuss our plans for continuing progress in each of those 6 major focus areas in our strategic plan, beginning with advocacy. Now, your Government Relations Vice President, retired Colonel Dan Mary, is on the dais with me and will be happy to take your specific questions after my remarks. But let me focus on our current challenges and future opportunities in our legislative operations. I've already addressed the adverse effects of sequestration and budget caps, wreaking havoc on the defense planning and execution. But this dark fiscal cloud also impacts the art of negotiating, or horse trading as it was called back in the day. Now, finding fundamental offsets is nothing new, but lately any program or request requiring funding is held at bay until an offset is identified. Several years ago, this was also the case, but social conscience and political will would help carry on an issue forward into the realm of the possible. This is not the case today. So even with the slightest bit of good news needs to be celebrated with an exception, and we continue to work for those exceptions. Another personal story provides a little more context on the current legislative climate in Washington. In early 2016, I was talking with now former Senator Harry Reid's Chief of Staff, retired National Guard Brigadier General Bob Herbert, who confided to me that he was not inclined to look for another position on Capitol Hill after Senator Reid had retired at the end of the 114th Congress. General Herbert complained that he didn't feel he was making a difference anymore, and there was very little incentive to negotiate in a polarized environment like Washington. Now, nevertheless, we head into the 2018 cycle with some legislative optimism. The 115th Congress will be halfway through their term. Freshman members are a little more seasoned and, of course, focused on re-election. We will leverage our experiences and match their desires to stay relevant and informed to generate more victories in the areas of compensation and health care for those who serve, who have served, and their families. I'm also very proud of the recent elevation of our Vice President of Government Relations, Dan Mary, who was unanimously elected as one of the two co-chairs of the Military Coalition this past August. Dan and his government relations team have been working with the coalition to stay engaged with Congress to find victories and support wherever possible. In 2018, we'll also look for more opportunities to support our councils and chapters in their local, state, and federal advocacy efforts. Now, membership is also at the heart of our organization, and as you know, it remains a continuing challenge as we look to position the organization for a strong and healthy future. But I'm here today to assure you that we're right on track. The significant losses that we once recognized on a monthly basis have been leveling out in recent months, and while we haven't yet turned the trends upward, we're getting closer. Paid membership is the lifeblood of our organization, and it is a category that we watch very closely. For consecutive months, this number has held relatively steady, hovering just below 250,000 members. And I need to acknowledge the significant efforts of our council and chapter leadership teams for supporting our membership development efforts. The success of our current renewal initiatives have been a key factor in holding paid membership at its current levels. We've recognized month-over-month growth in annual renewals, and should this growth continue, we will exceed our renewal goal by year end. Renewals are only a piece of the paid membership equation. Reversing trends will also require more effective acquisition efforts, greater member upgrades to life status, and the more challenging component of our strategy is an increase in the conversion rates of our basic members to premium status. Now, we haven't solved for all of these challenges yet, but we're seeing small wins and we're building upon them for greater success. We're also taking a number of actions to set a solid foundation for the future. Now, first, after an extensive search process, we're bringing on a new advertising agency to help us grow brand awareness and increase basic membership, which serves as a vital pipeline for our paid membership. Setting this agency apart from the competition was their holistic look at our membership challenge and their understanding of our ultimate goal, lifelong dues-paying members. In the coming weeks, we'll finalize a contract and begin work in earnest. The process of evaluating competition and finalizing a best value contract for our association was strengthened recently by engagement of our governance committee under Admiral DeSalt. This revised procedure is clearly making a positive difference for our association. We're also bringing on new technology that will allow us to better understand the needs of current and prospective members. Specifically, it will help us determine where they are in the buying decision, deliver relevant content how and when they need it, and better position our membership calls to action for optimal results. By year end, we'll see the results of our first campaign delivered via our new marketing automation platform. And finally, we're getting better at using data to our advantage. We're working with partners to develop models so that we can target the best prospects and use our limited resources more effectively. One potential new area of cooperation is with the recently formed Office of People Analytics and the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. Now, I learned of this opportunity while attending the regularly scheduled SecDef Roundtable just this past week. This new office focuses on collecting and interpreting data about how service members are performing and why they decide to leave. As we develop a relationship with this new operation, there may be possibilities for useful collaboration to strengthen our membership value. And we've just made a new hire into our data analyst position, a face many of you in this room will recognize, as she has been on our headquarters team for many years. Julie Hepsch will join the membership and marketing team in the coming weeks to pursue her interest in analytics and build on the skills and experience that she has acquired with an MBA with a concentration in marketing. Her skills and intimate familiarity with our association are certain to advance our analytic capabilities. Offering compelling member products and services is also an important aspect of our membership and marketing operation. Accordingly, we're stepping up our game in this area with a formalized vetting process, including a comprehensive review by a variety of our staff groups to ensure that our products and services are congruent with our mission and meeting member needs. Our new product, Member Pet Insurance, will be rolled out to our membership in the coming weeks. Now, turning to our member engagement efforts. We launched our improved website homepage at midnight on August 23rd. Now, this was a Herculean effort that required a heavy lift from our staff in communications and CIO teams. The project team was comprised of in-house experts from a range of disciplines, and they implemented much of the design on feedback from members like yourself, board members, and our headquarters team, as well as from several best-of-breed websites. Between our launch on October 15th, we had 55,000 homepage views, with an average time on the page of 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, this compares to 1 minute and 17 seconds during the same period in 2016. While that might seem small and even microscopic to some, it does reveal greater audience engagement of our featured content. And our new homepage is now the second most popular page behind our Take Action legislative section, which recorded over 69,000 page views during the 2017 baseline period. Moreover, our new homepage is built responsively. That means it's easier viewing on mobile and tablet devices. While marketplace trends are evolving, the majority of our members still prefer to access MOAA.org using a desktop device, although the use of mobile and tablet devices by our members continues to increase. Continuing our efforts to improve engagement with our members, the headquarters team is driving to complete implementation of the MOAA newsletter. Personalized email preferences will now allow members to have a customized experience by selecting the type of MOAA content that they prefer and the frequency in which they want to receive it. And one piece of member news we will be sharing throughout the MOAA network is MOAA Life member, retired Army Captain Gary Rose from our Birmingham, Alabama chapter, who received the Congressional Medal of Honor today from President Trump for conspicuous gallantry on the battlefields and layouts during the Vietnam War. Now, we had the unique fortune to interview Captain Rose for a profile of his courage for our November Military Officer magazine. Captain Rose represents the more than 3,500 Americans to receive the Medal of Honor. And I'm very proud to note that among those living officers that have the Medal of Honor, more than 24 of them are MOAA members. Also new in the member engagement area is our CQ Engage legislative advocacy technology, which actually now replaces the CapWiz communication system. Our 2017 member engagement efforts also include our third annual MOAA Military and Veteran Networking Forum at the National Air and Space Museum. Funded in part by the MOAA Military Family Initiative, we exceeded last year's performance in employers registered and hosted about 500 MOAA members and prospective members for this signature event. In addition to serving the Mid-Atlantic veteran and military spouse community, our annual networking and hiring event strengthens our relationship with some of our key business partners. For example, representatives from the Hartford Insurance Group, our MetaPlus program underwriter, provided the quote that you see on this slide after attending our networking event last month. Our engagement efforts also include a military spouse professional development program. This innovative effort, delivered in cooperation with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Hiring Our Hero program and funded by a grant from USAA, will deliver 9 symposiums across the military installations throughout 2018. Attendance is now averaging about 60 spouses per event, but the Camp Lejeune event, as General Sheehan said, featured Ivanka Trump and Kellyanne Conway, and more than 260 military spouses attended this extremely high-profile event and symposium. Finally, in the engagement area, our monthly magazine remains the primary communications channel for connecting with the vast majority of our members. And I'm very pleased with the results of our recent magazine redesign that will launch in January of this coming year. The communications team planned and executed the redesign in-house, realizing a savings of at least $44,000 compared to the cost of our last redesign, which was done with external consultants. and our Vice President of Communications, Jonathan Withington, and his team have prepared mock-up copies of the new magazine, which you can see later after this briefing. Terry Coles and her Council and Chapter Affairs team continue to look for new and innovative ways to better support our nationwide council and chapter organization. To date, in 2017, Terry and her team have connected with more than 85 councils and chapters through their annual visitation program and trained 230 council and chapter leaders at their quarterly leaders workshop. Now, I've attended 2 of these regional leaders workshops this year and have received multiple and unsolicited feedback commending Terry and her team for conceptualizing these more intimate events to allow our council and chapter leaders to connect, exchange best practices, and meet key members of the headquarters team. Thank you, Barry. In addition, council and chapter use of the USA chapter support dollars and use of our online dues collection capability are both up nearly 10% this year. And we're committed to increasing our support to the council and chapter organization in 2018 and more effectively engage our chapter members in our advocacy efforts and provide encouragement and support for impactful community engagement programs. Not specifically addressed in our strategic plan, but an area of major focus and enabler for us is our IT updates and upgrades. Under the leadership of our CIO, Stephanie Koiser, the technology team will be orchestrating a complete website redesign and has already begun this effort with a usability study that will be completed in December. Results from this study, plus the knowledge previously gained from focus groups with board members, headquarters team members, council and chapter leaders, will allow us to accelerate our IT transformation and further improve member engagement. Additionally, Stephanie continues to strengthen our cybersecurity posture in order to ensure our vital membership data is safeguarded. 3 additional goals in our strategic plan that deserve mention are our continuing efforts to improve our financial strength, capital assets, and our ongoing efforts to attract and retain top talent on our headquarters team. Our new CFO, Regina Chavis, is also on the dais with me this afternoon to take your specific questions. Now, you may have seen her annual financial report in the June issue of the Military Officer magazine, but I'd like to highlight the continuing progress we are making to strengthen our financial position and prepare our association for the inevitable turbulence of financial markets. For a top-level summary, I'm pleased to report that our investment portfolio has recorded more than a 9% rate of return this past year, and our investment portfolio now is a little north of $125 million. However, other major sources of revenue, including our affinity partnerships with USAA, Pentagon Federal Credit Union, and Mercer, all sunset in the year 2019, and the certainty of these revenue streams is unknown. So please don't get euphoric over this modest growth in our investment portfolio. We still have significant obligations to our membership, including our analog to digital transformation and meeting the needs of members ranging in age from 22 to 102. It's also a continuing challenge to attract and retain top talent on our headquarters team. The ultra-low metropolitan Washington unemployment rate, coupled with limited opportunities for our more junior team members to ascend to middle management ranks, forces some of our best team members to seek professional growth opportunities outside of our association. To mitigate this flight risk, we're committed to robust employee recognition and professional development programs. Now, in my visits with MOAA members around the country, I'm humbled by the impact many chapters are having in their local communities. Their community engagement spans a wide range of impactful programs, from serving as mentors in veteran treatment courts to supporting USO operations at more than 24 airports and fundraising educational scholarships that approach an annual value of nearly $500,000. One interesting example of our council and chapter leaders making a difference comes from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The local CBS TV station recently recognized the local MOAA chapter president in their weekly series called Hometown Heroes. The president of the Northeast Wisconsin chapter, Lieutenant Colonel Mike Egan, United States Army retired, was selected for this honor in recognition of the chapter's efforts to raise money through their annual Veterans Benefits golf outing for a variety of veterans causes, including caregiver support and wounded warrior support programs. For most of our members, like Mike Egan and many others, military service was not just a choice or a job. It was a necessity and it was a calling. It was an opportunity to serve a cause greater than oneself. And the common thread I see running throughout this association is service. Our members appreciate better than most that service is the price that we pay for living in the greatest country in the world. The headquarters team remains committed to doing all we can to improve the quality of life and the quality of service for our members and for the entire military community, including military families, veterans, National Guard, and Reserve component members. And with your support, and through your dues as a premium or life member, and through your community engagement, we are working every day to live our vision, to be the leading organization advocating on behalf of uniformed services community. As I approach the end of my second year in this position, I'm encouraged by our progress, optimistic about our future, and grateful for your support. Thank you very much, and we'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Dana, before you open up for questions, this is not on the agenda, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're in the process of trying to figure out what are we going to go talk to Congress about in April. And so in order for you to participate in that, I'd like Dan Murray to take just about 2 minutes. This is unscripted, so he doesn't have any charts. He has charts, but he's not going to use because he didn't put them up there. Just to talk about what he sees from a congressional basis. Dan, if you would, please.
Sure. Is that the right answer? Yes?
Even if he's an Air Force guy, he's still a smart guy.
He's taller than me. So, you know, as everyone said, most people know, there are a lot of conflicts in this town, and there's a lot of optimism in some areas, but not as much as there's pessimism. And we face that every day. We have great relationships on the Hill, and that matters. So what we're doing right now is we're waiting for the House and the Senate conferees, these are the people from the Armed Services Committee, to get together and hammer out a final defense bill. We know the House version pretty much favors all the stuff we've asked for, the things we've asked for, compensation related, no increases to TRICARE, no touching TRICARE for life. It's one of the few things the Senate's not touching either, so this is a good year for TRICARE for life. It's not on the scope. But the House version has what we're interested in and what most people and what most of our members are asking us to do for them. The Senate version, on the other hand, is just starkly different. It's quite the opposite. They're very aggressive at attacking military pay and compensation. They want to reduce the pay raise. It sounds like a small thing, but the cumulative effect we've shown over time really comes back to bite them, and they won't know until it bites them. So we watch that, and we watch that closely. If the Senate's version is passed, we'll be just under a 3% cumulative gap. So 3% gap, and it's going to be difficult to repair that. So the biggest compensation attack right now is on BAH, military to military with dependents. So what they're going for is to do away with the dependent rate if you're mill-to-mill married and you live in the same place. And I can tell you, the conviction I get from when we were talking with Senator Lindsey Graham, and he's the one that was talking about doing away with dual military BAH to begin with, especially if you're in the same house. And he was very convincing in his commitment by saying, and knowing that he wasn't going to win last year, he said, but we're going to go after that money because it's just too much. It's just too much money. And he's getting that information from his mill assist, person who's in the Marine Corps, a reservist. So there's people pushing this information out there, and it doesn't help our cause, but we have to stay on it. We've got people on our side at the House. They're going to go into the conference, and they're going to have these battles. So in summary, the optimism's not very high on the results. The optimism is about next year. We've got to work with the Congress that's getting ready to go for, everyone in the representatives are going for re-election next year. So we have to spend a lot of time with them, educate them, get them on our side. If they're going to make this a long haul, we need to get a better relationship with some of the newer ones. The ones who have been in a while have been very helpful. And some of the senators have been very helpful. So we don't know what's going to happen on the Hill. The other thing I want to just touch base on as part of a conflict is TRICARE fees. So the NDAA last year pretty much laid out the framework for TRICARE reform, which included raising some fees. They grandfathered all the currently receipt beneficiaries. Anybody who came into the service before January 1, 2018, that means all the way back, grandfathered. So This year, the Senate puts forth a bill, part of their NDAA version, that says we're going to raise copay fees anyway, regardless of last year's law regarding TRICARE reform. We're just going to raise fees because we can, and we need the money to pay for an extension of SSIA, Special Survivor Indemnity Allowance. That $310 is due to expire May next year. So that's one attack on TRICARE fees, and they're doing it with an ends to pay for something else. So it's beneficiaries paying for benefits. Aside from that, separately, on their own, unilaterally, DOD, through the DHA, you saw the picture of Admiral Bono. She's been a staunch supporter for a lot of our programs. This caught us all by surprise. She's put forth a model of changing how they do TRICARE fees, which it impacts all those current beneficiaries, going from a percent rate to a flat rate. And that flat rate, in essence, is an increase. So it really flies in the face of last year's intended NDAA to grandfather the currently serving or the current beneficiaries. Worse than that even is there's now 2 columns proposed by DHA. One is for all of us, and then one of them is for everybody who comes in after January 1st of this coming year. And they're different. Guess who pays the most? All of us. It defies logic to take advantage of all those people. Here's why they would charge more. They think they can. There's a lot of us. They'll get the money right away. They're not going to see any of this money from the people who come in next year or the people who are eligible for retirement. It's not going to be very big. So those are the long poles in the tent right now. That's what we're facing. That's the uphill battle. We intend to meet with Congress. In fact, we have several appointments coming up to do our best. And we're engaged in the military coalition, and we will be going over on Capitol Hill with coalition partners as well. So, sir, is that that's good enough summary? We'll take questions.
Dan, thanks very much.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to open up the floor for questions at this, but any questions you have, any concerns you have, by attending today, you represent the membership at large. You hear things, you talk to people. What are your concerns? What can we do better? This is not like class, I recognize it's 16:59 and you recognize there's a bar outside.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they must know there's a bar out there.
I'm ready now. You can ask your question.
So, questions. John, you must have a question. You.
I don't have a question, Jack, but I'll tell you that I think your assessment on the BCA is absolutely correct. It's not going to be terminated. The latest word I received is, and from a pretty reliable source, look, we're not going to do it. We don't have the votes to do it. And oh, by the way, the military's getting the money they need anyway. Although it's 1-year money and it's tied to OCO. Yeah. So I think your assessment's correct, and it's a shame that we don't have the fortitude among the people that we elect to do what's right.
Thanks, John. Any other questions, concerns? Yeah, please.
This is Monty Zimmerman. I'm a retired colonel from Centerville, Virginia. This is my first time coming here, but I've appreciated the magazine and the information that it provides on everything. I really appreciate the legislative direction and the support that we get from you for maintaining and working to maintain benefits and process. So thank you very much. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Dana touched this. This has been a tough issue. How do you transition an analog organization into a digital organization? As Dana said, that the vast majority of our membership loves the magazine. They get it, they thumb through it. The new generation that's coming in, they don't read magazines. So we have to figure out how we take this magazine, give you what you want, personalize it, but at the same time make a website that these younger officers who are looking at it can say, oh, I understand. To do that, we have a different demographic in our staff. It's an entirely different MOS kind of person that comes in that says, yes, I understand how all these things are done. So and Dana's done a great job. He really has done a great job with this. How do we keep one foot in both camps? Questions, comments? I reckon it's now 17. Oh, we got one question.
My name is Don Now. I'm the Georgia Council President. This is directed to the VA. I'm a former military officer, and there are going to be, I foresee a lot of former officers coming out of this service in addition to retired, and especially Iraq, Afghanistan veterans. We have some in the Georgia chapters now that we are hoping will help in the membership standpoint. It's very different. It's a very, very different mentality. But back to the VA question, I applaud what MOAA has done with the VA. I am in the VA, and I've been in the VA since Vietnam. I've ridden the roller coaster. Presently, just quickly, I'm in good condition with the VA system and doctor that I have in Dublin, Georgia. But I just read this past week that in the budgeting for VA, they're looking to round down the current veterans' compensation amount for additional funds. Is that true, and does that appear to be happening?
Thanks. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me all right? Yeah, so the question is the rounding down to pay as a pay-for bill for VA benefits. The answer is yes, that's on the table. That's what they want to do. Oddly enough, they've used this tactic for several issues. There's an issue with the Blue Water Navy. That's for people who were exposed to Agent Orange, but they weren't in the littorals or in shore or in the brown water. They were way out at sea, and they weren't included in the presumptive case rulings for certain cancers. So they want to fix that, and it's called the Blue Water Navy Initiative, and there's legislation. They proposed paying for that with a COLA round down. So they would take these increases and round them down. So as you could imagine, the most they could get in a year is $11.88 per person per year, because it's the most you could round down would be 99 cents. If it was $10, it'd be $10. So that's another issue they want to use round down for. So it's odd that it's come up 3 times now on pay-fors for choice, for access to care, pay-for GI Bill, pay-for GI Bill, and pay-for Blue Water Navy. I don't know the likelihood of that getting passed. The math isn't there to support that being enough money for almost anything, and I don't know if it's just an attempt. It's an example of what we were talking about. You have to come to the table with a pay-for. You have to come with something. So they're bringing anything they can, even if it's not enough. And then that hopefully will get their issue brought to another level. But at the end of the day, I think it's really hard to just fight tooth and nail on 99 cents a month. But it's a dangerous slope. I made this up, so don't quote me, and I know it's on film. But if they're going to round down, what's the next step? Round down to the closest $5? You know, how much money would they make there? Now we're talking about the kind of money they want. So we don't know what they would do next. There's people who would, and they've done rounding down before. So this is a tactic used for short notice and for extreme cases. So yes, it's on our scope. We're very aware of it. In fact, they'll be at a VA HVAC meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. and we'll probably be able to get an update on that. Watch for the legislative updates. We'll make sure we put the latest and greatest on round down in the legis updates.
All right, we got more questions.
Actually, not a question, sir. Just a comment on that's a follow-on that I think some folks don't realize. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Matt Clark. I'm the chair of the membership committee on the board of directors. And one of the things, sir, I want to thank you for bringing up that comment about being a former officer. And we have, of course, those who are a member of our broader membership. That's a relatively small percentage. However, we've recently looked into this universe of potential members that we might be able to tap into. And this is for everybody here as we're looking into the value proposition for what we can provide you and folks who are former officers and what can attract them, because that's actually a pretty large group. It's not quite 2 million, I think was the number. What was it? 1.1 million. And so that is a potential for us. So for all of you, be talking to the members that you know, please, to help us figure out what value we can provide those that left before they had the opportunity. So thank you for that opportunity to say that, sir.
In the rear.
Harvey Kaplan, President of the Maryland Council. When we're talking about reaching out to new members, it seems to me that we have a case study or an example that kind of underlines what we've been saying, and I think we who are older need to recognize that this is true. Dave Peterson and I know very well that every new public health service officer who comes through the basic course comes through one of our briefings that we host, and they tell us, because we have a stack of the military officer magazines out there on the table, they tell us, generally speaking, we would prefer to be able to access that online. We don't want to carry away a sample copy of the magazine. So I'm saying age does matter. Yes, we tell them that Joyce Johnson's article is in that because they're public health and they're interested, but they'd rather see that and read it online. And I think the same is true with the website as we reach out and try to attract new members and get interest in different population groups. So I just want to share that. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to us, perhaps, but it does make sense to them.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, if there are no additional questions, first, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate the opportunity to tell you what your organization is doing. I would ask that after you leave here and have had a drink and you get clarity of thought, if there's some things that we didn't cover that you want to hear about, please let us know. This is a dynamic process. We're in transition just like our membership is, so we need your help, we need your input, because this is your organization. With that, close this meeting.